There is a moment when God does not take everything from your hands at once. He lets you feel the weight of carrying what only He was meant to hold. And maybe this is why you are here tonight. Not because your faith is weak, not because God has forgotten you, not because your prayers have been ignored, but because your soul is tired from holding too much, thinking too much, forcing too much, trying to understand too much, and carrying burdens that were never meant to rest on your shoulders. You have prayed, but you still feel heavy. You have planned, but peace has not stayed. You have tried to control the outcome, protect the future, fix what was broken, keep people close, open doors, explain your heart, and hold together pieces that keep slipping from your hands. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet question has been rising: Lord, why am I so tired? Maybe the answer is not that you need to fight harder. Maybe the answer is that God is gently leading you into surrender. Surrender is not God abandoning you. Surrender is God teaching your heart to stop wrestling with His hands. It is the sacred moment when you finally realize that peace will not come from controlling everything, but from trusting the one who already holds everything. It is when the soul stops saying, "I must fix this alone," and begins to whisper, "Father, I place this in your hands." In this message, you will discover the 11 signs God is quietly leading you into surrender. These signs may not appear loudly. They may begin as a deep tiredness from forcing what no longer has peace, a holy discomfort around what once comforted you, a quiet conviction to release something you cannot fully explain, a change in your prayers, a new desire to stop fighting battles that cost your peace, a growing fear of missing God's will more than losing your own plan. Stay with this message until the end, because one of these signs may explain exactly what your soul has been feeling. You may realize that God is not trying to crush you. He is trying to free you. He is not taking your future away. He is teaching you to return the future to the only hands strong enough to carry it. So tonight, let your mind slow down. Let your heart breathe. Let the pressure of the day become quiet before the presence of the Lord. You do not need to solve every problem before you sleep. You do not need to understand every delay. You do not need to control every person, every door, every outcome, every tomorrow. The Father is near. The Shepherd is watching. The Lord who kept you through other storms is still keeping you now. And while your body rests, God can work in places your hands cannot reach. He can calm what anxiety has stirred. He can heal what pressure has wounded. He can protect your home, guard your family, cover your thoughts, and teach your soul the peace of surrender. Because surrender is not losing, surrender is returning control to God. And the first sign that He is quietly leading you there is this: you are tired of forcing what no longer has peace. You are tired of forcing what no longer has peace. One of the first signs God is quietly leading you into surrender is when your soul becomes tired of forcing what no longer carries peace. You may still care. You may still want it to work. You may still remember when it felt right, when it felt possible, when your heart believed that if you just tried harder, explained better, waited longer, prayed stronger, or pushed a little more, everything would finally come together. But now, something feels different. The effort is still there, but the peace is gone. You keep trying to open a door, but your spirit feels heavy every time you stand in front of it. You keep trying to hold a situation together, but your heart feels drained instead of strengthened. You keep trying to control an outcome, but the more you force it, the less rest you have. And maybe God is not asking you to fight harder. Maybe He is asking you to release what has become heavier than His peace. There are moments when the Lord allows the soul to become exhausted with forcing, because exhaustion can become a holy invitation. Not the exhaustion of defeat, but the exhaustion that finally makes you honest. The kind that says, "Father, I cannot carry this anymore. I cannot keep pretending this weight is peace. I cannot keep forcing what your presence is not blessing." Surrender often begins there. Not with a dramatic moment, but with a quiet realization. What God gives may require faith, but it will not require you to destroy your soul to keep it. Tonight, maybe there is something you have been forcing. A relationship, a plan, a door, a conversation, a version of the future, a desire that once felt full of hope, but now leaves your heart anxious and tired. Bring it before God. Say quietly within your soul, Lord, show me what I am forcing. Show me what I am carrying without your peace. Give me courage to release what you are not asking me to hold. Teach me to trust that if something belongs in my life, I do not need to destroy myself to keep it. May the Lord calm your heart tonight. May he remove the pressure to force what he is asking you to surrender. May he cover your mind with peace and remind you that his will does not require panic to survive. When you become tired of forcing what no longer has peace, it may be a sign that God is gently leading you into surrender. And the next sign appears when what once comforted you now begins to feel spiritually heavy. What once comforted you now feels spiritually heavy. Another sign God is quietly leading you into surrender is when the things you once ran to for comfort no longer bring rest to your soul. There was a time when certain distractions helped you escape what you were feeling. Noise helped you avoid silence. Constant activity helped you avoid reflection. Certain conversations, habits, places, attachments and routines gave temporary relief to your emotions. Even if they were not healing you deeply, they helped you forget the weight for a moment. But now, something has changed inside you. What once distracted you now leaves you empty. What once comforted you now feels heavy afterward. What once felt normal now disturbs your spirit, and this can feel confusing at first. You return to the same places emotionally, but the peace is gone. You try to find relief in old comforts, but your soul no longer settles there the way it used to. That is not punishment. That is God drawing you closer to himself. Sometimes the Lord allows old comforts to lose their power because he no longer wants your soul surviving on temporary escape. He wants you to discover the deeper rest that only his presence can give. This is how surrender often begins. God slowly removes satisfaction from the things that kept you spiritually numb, not because he hates you, but because he loves you too much to let you remain dependent on what cannot truly heal you. You begin realizing that distractions cannot calm the heart permanently. People cannot carry the weight only God can hold. Entertainment cannot heal spiritual exhaustion. Control cannot create peace. Running from pain cannot restore the soul. And maybe tonight your spirit already knows this deeply. Maybe you are tired of temporary relief that leaves you emptier afterward. Maybe you are beginning to crave silence with God more than constant noise. Maybe your soul is becoming sensitive again. Sensitive to what drains you, sensitive to what darkens your thoughts, sensitive to what pulls you away from peace. That sensitivity is not weakness, it is spiritual awakening. God is teaching your heart to stop feeding itself with what keeps it spiritually restless. The Father wants more for you than survival. He wants restoration. And restoration begins when the soul stops searching for permanent healing in temporary places. Tonight, perhaps God is inviting you to return to him with honesty, not pretending to be strong, not hiding your exhaustion, not distracting yourself from what hurts, but resting openly before him. Say quietly within your heart, Lord, remove my dependence on what cannot heal me. Teach me to stop running to temporary comforts when my soul truly needs your presence. Fill the empty places inside me with your peace. Restore my heart and lead me into deeper surrender. May the Lord cover your mind tonight with holy calm. May he remove the heaviness that follows empty comforts. May he heal the restless places inside your soul. May he draw you near to his presence where true rest is found. When what once comforted you begins to feel spiritually heavy, it may be a sign that God is teaching your heart to stop leaning on temporary escape and start resting in him. And when surrender begins touching the deepest parts of the soul, another sign quietly appears. You feel a gentle conviction to release something even before you fully understand why. You feel a quiet conviction to release something even without full explanation. Another sign God is quietly leading you into surrender is when you begin feeling a deep inner conviction to release something even before you fully understand the reason. Nothing dramatic may have happened yet. There may not be a clear explanation, no loud voice, no visible ending, but inside your spirit something no longer feels settled the same way. A quiet discomfort begins growing around something you once held tightly. And the strange part is this: your mind may still try to justify holding on, while your soul quietly feels tired of carrying it. This is often how God begins leading the heart into surrender. Not always through force, not always through sudden loss, sometimes through a holy uneasiness that slowly reveals what no longer belongs in your hands. You try to ignore it at first. You tell yourself maybe you are overthinking, maybe you are imagining things, maybe if you wait longer the feeling will disappear. But the conviction remains, quiet, gentle, persistent. Because when God is preparing your soul for surrender, He often touches the attachment before He explains the future. That conviction may involve a relationship, a habit, a pattern of thinking, an unhealthy emotional dependence, a door you keep forcing, a fear you keep protecting, or a version of life you keep trying to control. Outwardly, it may still look possible, but inwardly, peace is slowly withdrawing, and this can be painful because surrender often begins before understanding arrives. The heart naturally wants explanations first. It wants certainty. It wants God to reveal the entire reason before asking you to release anything. But many times the Lord simply says, "Trust me enough to let go before you fully see why." Abraham walked this kind of faith. Peter stepped into this kind of faith. Again and again, Scripture shows people being asked to trust God before they could clearly understand the outcome. And maybe tonight, your soul is standing in that sacred place. You feel that something is shifting. Something inside you no longer has peace, continuing the same way. You may not know exactly where God is leading yet, but you can feel Him loosening your grip on something you once thought you could never release. Do not ignore that gentle conviction. God does not lead His children only through pressure and fear. Often He leads through peace, withdrawing from places where your soul no longer belongs. And the beautiful thing about surrender is this: God never asks you to release something because He wants to leave you empty. He asks because He wants to lead you into freedom, healing, and deeper trust. Tonight, bring that hidden struggle before Him. Bring the attachment you are afraid to release. Bring the situation you keep trying to hold together. Bring the fear of letting go. Bring the uncertainty of not knowing what comes next. And pray softly within your soul, "Lord, give me courage to release what you are touching. Help me trust you before I fully understand. Quiet the fear inside me. Do not let me cling to what is stealing my peace. Teach me to follow your spirit gently, even when the road ahead is not fully visible. May the Lord calm your heart tonight. May He remove confusion from your spirit. May He strengthen you where fear has weakened you. May He guide you with peace and protect you from holding on to what He is lovingly asking you to surrender. When you begin feeling a quiet conviction to release something, even without full explanation, it may be a sign that God is gently teaching your soul to trust Him more deeply. And as surrender grows inside the heart, your prayers begin changing too. They become less focused on outcomes and more focused on belonging fully to God. Your prayers begin changing from "give me this" to "make me yours." Another sign God is quietly leading you into surrender is when your prayers begin changing. Before, you may have prayed mostly for outcomes. "Lord, open this door. Lord, change this situation. Lord, bring this person back. Lord, fix this problem. Lord, give me the answer I want." And those prayers were sincere. God does not reject a tired heart that asks for help. But when surrender begins growing inside you, your prayers become deeper. You still ask for help, but now you also ask for transformation. You still bring your needs, but now you desire God's will more than your own control. You still want answers, but something in your soul begins saying, Lord, make me yours. Shape my heart, purify my desires. Lead me even if the path is different from what I imagined. That is surrender. It is when prayer stops being only a place where you ask God to serve your plans and becomes a place where your heart returns to His hands. Tonight, maybe your soul is learning to pray differently. Maybe you no longer want only relief. You want peace. You no longer want only a changed circumstance. You want a changed heart. You no longer want only God's gifts. You want His presence. Say quietly within your heart, Lord, make me yours. Teach me to desire your will above my own way. Heal what still wants control. Purify what I keep asking for. Lead me with love. Correct me with mercy. And hold my life in your hands. May the Lord soften your heart tonight. May He turn your prayers from panic into trust. May He teach your soul to rest in His will. May His presence cover your mind, your home, your family, and your sleep. When your prayers begin changing from "give me this" to "make me yours," it may be a sign that God is quietly leading you into surrender. And the next sign appears when you stop feeling the need to win every battle. You stop wanting to win every battle. Another sign God is quietly leading you into surrender is when your soul becomes tired of fighting battles that steal your peace. There was a time when you felt the need to respond to everything. Every misunderstanding demanded an explanation. Every disagreement pulled your emotions into conflict. Every offense stayed in your thoughts. Every situation became something you felt responsible to control, defend, fix, or win. But now something inside you is changing. You are beginning to realize that not every battle deserves your strength. Not every argument deserves your peace. Not every opinion deserves your emotional energy. And not every victory is worth the damage it leaves inside your soul. This is one of the quiet ways God teaches surrender. He begins removing the obsession with always proving yourself, always controlling the outcome, always being understood, always defending your position. The soul starts craving peace more than constant emotional warfare. Jesus Himself remained silent in moments where He could have defended Himself, not because He was weak, but because He was surrendered to the Father. He did not waste His peace trying to win every human battle around Him. And maybe tonight, God is teaching you the same thing. Some battles are draining your spirit more than they are protecting your future. Some conflicts are keeping your mind restless. Some emotional fights continue only because fear keeps telling you that surrender means losing. But surrender is not weakness. Surrender is wisdom. It is knowing when peace is more valuable than being right. It is knowing when silence protects the soul better than endless explanation. It is knowing when to place people, situations, and outcomes into God's hands instead of carrying them emotionally every night. Tonight, maybe your heart is exhausted from trying to hold too many battles at once. Battles in your thoughts, battles in relationships, battles with the past, battles with fear, battles with yourself. Bring them before God now. Say quietly within your soul, Lord, teach me which battles are not mine to carry. Remove the need to defend myself constantly. Calm my reactions. Protect my peace. Teach me to surrender what only you can resolve. Give me wisdom to walk away from what keeps draining my spirit. May the Lord quiet every storm inside your mind tonight. May He remove the tension that has been exhausting your heart. May He give you discernment to stop feeding unnecessary conflict. May His peace guard your emotions and restore rest to your soul. When you stop needing to win every battle, it may be a sign that God is quietly teaching you to surrender control and trust Him more deeply. And as surrender grows stronger inside you, delays begin looking different too. They no longer feel only like punishment. They begin feeling like protection. Delays no longer feel like punishment, but like protection. Another sign. God is quietly leading you into surrender is when delays begin feeling less like rejection and more like protection. There was a time when waiting immediately created fear inside you. If something did not happen quickly, you assumed something was wrong. If a door stayed closed, you questioned yourself. If the answer delayed, your mind filled with anxiety. You felt forgotten, left behind, abandoned, or punished by the silence of God. But surrender slowly changes the way the soul sees time. You begin understanding that God's delays are not always his denial. Sometimes the Father protects you through waiting. Sometimes he keeps a door closed because your heart is not ready yet. Sometimes he slows the process because he is preparing something you cannot yet see. Sometimes the delay is the mercy of God standing between you and a future that would have wounded you if it arrived too soon. This changes the heart deeply. Instead of reacting to every delay with panic, the soul begins asking, "Lord, what are you protecting me from? What are you preparing inside me while I wait?" That is surrender growing. Joseph waited before entering the purpose God had for him. David waited before sitting on the throne. Moses waited in the wilderness before leading people through it. Again and again, Scripture shows that God often prepares the person before releasing the promise. And maybe tonight, your waiting season is not empty. Maybe God is strengthening your character while you wait. Maybe he is protecting your peace while you wait. Maybe he is removing hidden dangers while you wait. Maybe he is teaching your soul dependence instead of control. Because the truth is this: some blessings received too early become burdens instead of gifts. The surrendered heart begins trusting God's timing more than its own urgency. That does not mean waiting becomes easy. There are still nights when the soul feels tired. There are still moments when you wonder how much longer the road will feel uncertain. But even in those moments, something inside you is softer now. You no longer feel the same desperation to force what has not opened yet. You are learning to trust the shepherd's timing, and that trust brings peace. Tonight, perhaps there is something you have been waiting for a long time. An answer, a breakthrough, healing, restoration, direction, provision, relief. Bring that waiting before God now. Say quietly within your heart, "Lord, help me trust your timing. Heal the fear that rises during delays. Teach me to believe that your waiting is not abandonment. Protect me from forcing doors that are not ready to open. Prepare my heart while I wait. Let your peace remain stronger than my urgency." May the Lord calm your thoughts tonight. May he remove the fear of being forgotten. May he remind your soul that delays do not scare him. The God who governs time has not lost control of your life. May he cover your waiting season with peace, wisdom, patience, and quiet trust. When delays begin feeling more like protection than punishment, it may be a sign that God is quietly leading your heart into surrender. And as surrender deepens, another sign begins appearing inside you. You become more afraid of leaving God's will than losing your own plan. You become more afraid of leaving God's will than losing your own plan. Another sign, God is quietly leading you into surrender, is when your heart becomes more concerned with staying in God's will than protecting your own plan. Before, the fear was losing what you wanted, losing the relationship, losing the opportunity, losing the timeline, losing the version of life you imagined, losing control of how things should happen. But when surrender begins to deepen, a holy fear rises inside the soul. Not the fear of punishment, not the fear of being abandoned, but the reverence that says, "Lord, I do not want anything that pulls me away from you." That is a sacred change. You begin realizing that having your own way without God's peace is not victory. You begin understanding that a door can look desirable and still lead your soul away from rest. You begin seeing that the safest place is not always the place that feels easiest, but the place where God is leading. Jesus said, "Not my will, but yours be done." That prayer is the heart of surrender. It is the moment the soul stops worshipping its own desire and begins trusting the Father's wisdom above every personal preference. Tonight, maybe God is changing your fear. You're no longer only afraid of things not working out. You are becoming afraid of forcing something God is not blessing. You are no longer only afraid of waiting. You are becoming afraid of running ahead without peace. You are no longer only afraid of losing your plan. You are becoming afraid of missing God's will by holding too tightly to your own. That is not weakness. That is spiritual maturity. Say quietly within your heart, Lord, keep me in your will. Do not let me cling to anything that leads me away from you. Give me courage to release my plan when it competes with your peace. Teach me to love your direction more than my control. May the Lord guide your heart tonight. May He protect you from paths that look good but weaken your spirit. May He give you peace to follow His will even when it costs your own plan. When you become more afraid of leaving God's will than losing your own plan, it may be a sign that He is quietly leading you into surrender. And this surrender becomes even more real when God teaches you to let people go without begging them to stay. You start letting people go without begging them to stay. Another sign God is quietly leading you into surrender is when your heart begins learning how to release people without losing peace. There was a time when every distance felt unbearable. If someone changed, became cold, pulled away, or left, your soul immediately tried to hold tighter. You replayed conversations, searched for explanations, blamed yourself, and exhausted your emotions, trying to keep people who no longer carried peace in your life. But surrender changes something deeply inside the heart. You begin understanding that love is not control. You begin realizing that not everyone assigned to one season is assigned to your entire journey. You begin accepting that forcing someone to stay can slowly destroy the peace God is trying to restore inside you. And this hurts because the human heart naturally wants to hold on to what feels familiar. But God sometimes teaches surrender through relationships, not because He wants your heart empty, but because He wants your soul free from emotional dependence. Tonight, maybe someone's absence still hurts you. Maybe part of your heart still wants to chase, explain, convince, or repair what only God can touch. But the Father is gently teaching you that peace cannot survive where your soul keeps begging to be chosen. David loved Saul, but he could not force Saul's heart to become safe. Jesus loved people deeply, yet many still walked away from Him. Love does not always prevent distance, and surrender means trusting God enough to stop trying to control what another person chooses. This does not mean your heart becomes cold. It means your soul becomes healthier. You stop abandoning yourself emotionally just to keep someone close. You stop destroying your peace, trying to force connection. You stop treating rejection like proof that you are unworthy. You begin understanding that the God who removes certain people is still able to sustain your life completely. And sometimes, letting go is not losing someone. Sometimes it is recovering the peace you lost, trying to hold them. Tonight, bring every painful attachment before God. Bring the fear of being left behind. Bring the grief of relationships that changed. Bring the exhaustion of trying to hold together what keeps slipping away. Bring the loneliness that sometimes follows surrender. And say quietly within your soul, Lord, teach me to love without controlling. Teach me to release without bitterness. Heal the fear that makes me cling to what no longer carries peace. Protect my heart from emotional dependence. Remind me that I do not need to beg for what you truly have for me. May the Lord comfort your heart tonight. May He heal the wounds created by rejection, distance, disappointment, and abandonment. May He remind you that His presence is enough to sustain you through every transition. May He fill your home, your mind, and your spirit with holy peace. When you begin letting people go without begging them to stay, it may be a sign that God is quietly leading your soul into surrender. And as surrender becomes stronger inside you, another sign begins appearing naturally. You no longer need to understand everything before you obey. You no longer need to understand everything before you obey. Another sign God is quietly leading you into surrender is when your heart stops demanding full understanding before taking the next step of obedience. Before, you wanted every detail first. You wanted certainty before movement. You wanted God to explain the entire road before you trusted Him enough to walk it. If the future looked unclear, fear immediately tried to stop you. Your mind kept asking questions, searching for guarantees, trying to protect itself from uncertainty. But surrender changes the way the soul responds to God. You begin realizing that trust does not always come after understanding. Sometimes trust comes before it. This is how God has always led His people. Abraham was called to leave before he saw the full destination. Peter stepped onto the water before he understood how the miracle would hold him. The Israelites followed the cloud without seeing the entire journey ahead. God often reveals the next step, not the whole map. And when surrender grows inside you, something begins changing deeply. You stop needing to control every outcome before obeying what God already placed in your spirit. You stop delaying obedience while waiting for perfect certainty. That does not mean fear disappears completely. It means fear no longer controls the final decision. Tonight, maybe God has already been touching something inside your heart. Perhaps there is a step of obedience you keep postponing because you still want complete clarity first. But surrender gently says, Lord, if your peace is leading me, I will trust you with what I cannot fully see yet. This is not blind emotion. This is relationship. The surrendered soul begins trusting the shepherd more than its own need for control. And there is deep peace in that place. Because the pressure to predict everything begins leaving the heart. You no longer feel responsible for solving the entire future before moving forward. You begin trusting that the same God who guides the first step is able to guide the next one too. Maybe tonight your soul is tired from trying to understand everything before resting, but the Father is inviting you into simpler trust. Not childish ignorance, but childlike faith. The kind of faith that says, Lord, you see what I cannot see. Lead me where you want me to go. I do not need every answer tonight. I only need your presence. Bring your uncertainty before Him now. Bring the questions that still remain. Bring the fear of making the wrong decision. Bring the pressure to understand every outcome before obeying. And say quietly within your heart, Lord, teach me to trust you beyond my understanding. Remove the fear that keeps me frozen. Give me peace for the next step. Lead me gently and help me obey with a surrendered heart. May the Lord calm your thoughts tonight. May He remove the burden of trying to predict every detail of your future. May He strengthen your spirit with holy trust. May His peace guide your decisions and quiet every fear that tries to keep you from following Him. When you no longer need to understand everything before you obey, it may be a sign that God is quietly leading your soul into surrender. And when surrender becomes this deep, another beautiful sign begins to appear. You finally find peace in saying, Lord, do what I cannot do.